And we are back with day 5 of Survivor 46 and 46. I just finished watching Survivor Thailand. Brian just won. We probably won't be talking long about this season today. I know we went over an hour last night for more cases. I don't think that's happening tonight. Today I'm joined by a newer fan to the community, Mark Anthony, who watched Thailand over the last few days. So, Mark, as your first time in Survivor Thailand, what were your thoughts?
Such a great season. I mean, there's really just so many that are so good, and this is just the best one I've watched. No, yeah, I did manage to do it. I mean, basically in one day. I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes the night before, and then actually I think just one the night before, and then the rest. Oof. Me, and as you know, Andrew, like I'm kind of coming in with like the newer era, but I have watched a lot of what you suggested as like really great seasons. So I did specifically ask you, like, you told me, you let me know that it was a bad season.
I let him know beforehand. I'm like, if you want Thailand, Thailand is the worst. And I will say, watching it this time around, because this time I wanted to come in at least somewhat more positive than I did this the last time. Sure. And before the comment about like there are some good things, and we are going to touch the good things because there's a few things that I actually enjoyed this time around. The challenges, I really enjoyed the challenges this season. I understand what a tax zone was, and I understand that was just a dumpster fire on its own. But even just things like the final immunity is
that's a crazy final immunity.
Yeah, one of the underwater. This stuff that Brian is doing it with 2 old people, but
it was you can see I guess how little they cared about safety. I mean, not that they didn't, but I mean, just as when he was explaining the bamboo underwater, I was just like, you're gonna swallow salt water. You're gonna, I was like, that's not safe. That's not how you do that.
And what's funny, because I spent the last few days saying Australia, Africa, and Marquesas are the 3 seasons where they wanted to basically kill their players, so that when we got to Thailand, I think they wanted to bore the audience to death. Because I mean, honestly, there's never a point in the season where I'm like actually invested. Today, well, I watched 3 episodes last night, and I watched all of them today, the rest of them today, and it's such a, I won't say it's a slog, like it's a very easy watch because nothing happens. And even so, last time I did this, the Ted Gandia thing happened, and it's like, okay, it just kind of sucks the air out of the rest of the season. I tried my best this time to be like, okay, this is going to happen, and I just have to, move on and see how I enjoy the rest of the season, which I don't enjoy. But one thing that I will say is, I forgot that, there are certain players that are actually trying to play the game here. In my head, I feel like in a lot of Survivor fans' heads, it's, oh yeah, it's just Brian, and everyone else just doesn't know what they're doing. It's like, no, most people don't know what they're doing, but, Penny tried to do some things. Jake tried to do some things. Sheehan absolutely tried to do some things. And Helen, I think Helen tried too late. Helen tried too late. So what were your thoughts on some of the cast? I know you were very tongue-in-cheek earlier about the cast, but what were your thoughts on some of the cast, not talking about Brian and Clay right now?
I mean, I exactly like what you just said. Like I think I mentioned to you, I was like, oh, there's some advanced gameplay here from Sheehan, and I haven't watched too many of these. I mean, this is what, season 5, right? And I haven't watched too many of these earlier seasons. So I know that for these people, the game is newer. I mean, they're 5 seasons in, so they've got like a fresh take on like, oh, we can do this, we can do that. This is still the era where a lot of people hold a lot of weight on being lied to, or being deceptive. Like it was new. It's like, oh, you can do that. Like you can just lie to me, and it's like, yeah, that's the game. There are people still trying to play, and then there were others out there, 2Bs. I respect that they are in an era where what they're trying to do is newer. Like you said, Helen was a little too late.
Helen was
I
late, and it's frustrating because
yeah.
her husband is sitting there saying to her, "Hey, you should probably get rid of Brian because it seems like what you've told me, Brian's a threat and Brian could win." And Helen's like, "No, no, me and Brian are good." And that's the main story of the season is everyone's good with Brian, except for when you find out the Sukjai guy, players that made the fake merge and merge. You know, Brian got his 4 votes from the Chuigon members plus Jake, and I
Yeah.
think it's because he actually took the time to get to know Jake, and I think that's why Jake was the last of the old Sukjai people to leave. But one of my favorite jury speeches, favorite jury questions is whenever someone asks, "Tell me something that you learned about me." And so when Penny does
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and Brian's just like spitballing, like, "Oh, you have an older brother or sister."
You have a brother. You have siblings.
She's like, "No, I'm the older."
You're related to people. You know, and
You're
yeah,
from
and
you're from
Clay,
Beaumont, Texas, and she's like, no, that's Jan.
yeah.
And Clay just sits there and like reads off her entire life story. It's
A
like,
monologue of her life, like a biography.
which is, and I feel like
Yeah.
I do feel like Clay is not a bad player. Clay might be a bad person with some of the things that he says, but Clay wasn't a bad player, and I think and we have a lot. He's basically the narrator of the season, along with Helen. I would say
he used his shields very well. He was
Yeah.
shielded very well. He was a shitty guy, but friendly enough to the people he needed to be.
Yeah.
I have a question about Clay. I don't know if you how structured you do with this podcast here.
Yeah.
So I was just rewatching the finale, and I was thinking about something that comes up in the reunion.
Which is playing in the background.
Has anybody talked about what?
There's rumor and innuendo about what was said, what
Yeah.
Ken was implying, that Ted eventually goes to and says, "Oh yeah, what do you think a racist is?" We can talk about that off air because I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, it was also it was mentioned in the jury questions of like he like tell me what you said about why Ted had to go, and then he doesn't. I mean, I was wondering if that's ever come out, or if that's ever like if anybody on the cast has done an interview or done anything.
Yeah, I mean there are rumors about what was said. I don't think anyone's ever like outright. I don't think there's ever been like a 100% confirmation what happened. And one of those people is sadly dead now. Clay passed like a year or two ago.
Did not know that.
Yeah. But reading between the lines, I kind of assume someone told Ken that Ted didn't need to be there, either one because of the Gandia thing, or two because he's black. And I feel like I do believe, just based off of Clay's reaction when Ted confronts him about it, I would say that I probably do believe Clay in that situation of like, yeah, he probably said a lot of questionable stuff, and he did say, "Hey, if I did say something, I actually didn't mean it." But I do feel like that probably goes back to Brian again and I texted you about this earlier. I was like, Brian's a sociopath. Like in the context of a game.
Brian is a sociopath. That with no context. I had no idea where you were watching it. I was like, yeah, I mean that sounds right for what I saw.
And I'm sure he's apparently might not be the best person out of the game, but like in game, he is portrayed as a sociopath to the point where both times that he sees his wife, like both on camera and when he sees her twice in person, everyone else I can feel the love, like with their significant other, and it's just like, yeah, she's here now, and it doesn't seem like he cares.
It's only been like 30 days. Come on.
Yeah, and so Brian is cold blooded. Yes, there was never a point where I felt like this man had any emotions ever. Like it was just they kept bringing up the used car salesman, and if y'all in the chat know what Brian also did, besides that, Mark, do you know what Brian also did besides?
No, yes. Is it mentioned in the?
No. Brian did softcore prawn. Him and his wife did softcore prawn for a few Skinemax films. Yes, fun fact.
After or before being on Survivor?
Before. Before. But just a lot of
that actually doesn't surprise me. After watching the reunion show, I forget her name, firefighter.
Stephanie Dill,
What's
the
that?
one with the accent, the one of like 15 people that have accents on this season, because it's like the
Yeah,
most
but also the
Midwest South
one.
season of the show.
Well, yes, but I mean her audition tape was very like.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm saying that because like I can see them being like, okay, we've got this firefighter who's going to strip for us. We've got some people who've done some.
No, they didn't know about it. Survivor didn't know about Brian's past. Exactly. Oh, that like what this comment says. Yes, they didn't know about it, and I will say that Brian is a very dominant winner. I would say that in terms of just pure dominance, I do put Brian fairly high on just that, because he does have everything on lockdown from pretty much jump. Like there's never a moment where he's in like any actual danger. We get whispers of people potentially say, "Oh yeah, Brian's a threat. Brian's a threat." It's like, okay, yeah, but they never actually do anything about it. And so, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did start like I would say midway through the season, kind of close to the end. I did in the back of my head, I was like, this guy's gonna take it. Like this guy's gonna win. I wanted it to be Helen because she started playing a pretty fierce game just too late. But he was the. I almost want to. I think I've said it before. It's almost like that Sari effect of just being behind the scenes, but still within every decision to a point where, like, it gets to a point where it's like, all right, who else is going to win? I mean, unless they put some great moves and get this guy out of the game, which nobody did. And so,
we're seeing Ted go to him and say, "Hey, so what are we doing?" And Brian's like, "Oh, we're doing." And it's like, wow, you guys are really just,
yeah.
Okay. No, that's not true. That's not true. that is not.
That's what I mean by like it's this early season naivete that they have, because like I went from that, and like today I started watching for the next episode I'm going to be on here for you with the
Worlds Apart,
and just jumping from season 5 to season 30, and the level of saltiness and of like, that's the game. Like, yeah, I lied to you to your face and immediately voted you out. That's the game. Oh, you have it playing.
Oh God, I have the reunion playing right now, and they're doing the Gandia Ted thing, and I'm just like, why is this?
Why would you ever bring that up? Especially like on your reunion show. Why would you like start like, let's talk about this? Even in season 30, which I don't know what year season 30 came out, but the sexism level is off the charts here. It is grotesque and really
the king of university.
Looking at new era Survivor, it's
well, no. So this comment is they're referring to 41 through 46. They're saying that Thailand is better, which is absolutely not true. And I've said this earlier. It's like anyone that doesn't have Thailand last on their list, or at least last bottom 2 to 3, I really just want to have a conversation with them just to feel like, what about this season is so much better than any other season you have below? Like, Thailand is actually just bad. Like we talked about yesterday, it was like there's some seasons that are just boring, like Redemption Island. There are some seasons that are problematic, like Island of the Idols. And then there are seasons that are boring and problematic, like Thailand. And just if we just glance over the Ted Gandia thing and we look at how Clay reacts to it, where Clay is
in relation to that comment, when you in your ranking system, because you rank a lot of stuff. In your ranking system, you said boring, problematic. For some people, when it comes to reality TV, and this is top tier, cream of the crop reality TV, but for a lot of people, it really does center around drama. And so I can actually understand why somebody would look at Thailand and like I like 46.
I like 46.
The drama in Thailand is way better than anything that happens in 45. Right? Like just I mean,
the drama. What drama is there outside of Ted Gandia in Thailand?
When I say drama, I mean just the bickering and the.
There really is not like, but what conflict? What conflict happens in Thailand outside of Ted Gandia?
Pieces of shit.
That is true, but that isn't the conflict.
I feel like there are people who are like that when it comes to Jersey Shore or the Kardashians, where they're not watching it and they're a fan of Kim Kardashian. They hate her. They hate these people, and they love to watch these people that they hate. I can't speak for that commenter, but I mean, I enjoyed this more than 45.
That's
I liked
wild.
45.
That's insane. That is
I liked 46. I enjoyed 46 better, but something about the season was just like,
I would agree with you. Almost any other
bad.
old school Survivor season, like first 10, this ain't it. It's comment of the picking of the tribe. So
yeah,
I think one of the things that really hurts the season, among a lot, is the fact that the tribes were picked, and yes, Dick was smart about the way he went about picking the tribe, and ironically, they end up getting decimated towards the end of the game. While Jan, Jan had to end up being my winner pick, not because of anything other than I didn't like anyone else, and Jan crying over the baby bat, and when Jake's killing the chicken, she's sitting there like trying to hold back tears. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm rooting for Jan now, and she's a lush, and I like a good drink here and there too. So I liked Jan for what it was, but yes, the tribes were very lopsided for a lot of the pre-merge, and then all of a sudden, Chewy just goes on this very long winning streak as we get to the fake merge. Oh, well, right before we get to the fake merge, we have the flag immunity challenge, which I know is very basic, but what did you think about that challenge, and also some of the others that we were shown here? Because I don't think we've had any of these challenges. I won't say that's true because there's probably one I'm forgetting. Most of these challenges we've never seen again. But what did you think about a lot of these challenges this season?
You liked them, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. One of the few positives that I have about the season is I like the challenges and I love the variation of the theme song. This variation of the theme song.
It's a cool variation. Yeah, the Thailand-esque. Yeah,
yes.
I dig that. They were fine. I think, again, I'm coming from like watching. There for me, there's also there's a big difference in the editing of like when you come from like 46 to going back to like season 5, and so there's a lot happening in these challenges where I wonder. I mean, and I know they take a lot.
Attack Zone is so convoluted. Attack Zone is like, because in my head, Attack Zone is just messy because the players are stupid. And then watching it this time and watching Jeff, explain the rules, I'm like, I don't understand what this means either. Like, I don't understand. And, everyone, I think most of Sukjai loses that challenge because they just keep getting players ejected from the challenge. Right. That's not, based off of the Game Changers cast, I'm not even going to disagree with you because the Game Changers cast is random as shit anyway. All Stars, no. But I will say, and I said this at the beginning, I do think that Clay is underrated as a finalist, and I think that people underrate him because, one, Brian was Brian, but two, because he comes from a shit season, and no one cares that Clay was actually pretty good. The fact that Clay got any votes is amazing, and I think it's because he did actually to bond with certain folks, and I'm actually surprised that he didn't get Jake's vote because I did feel like him and Jake had a good old boy thing going.
When it comes to them bringing people back, is that just like they offer it? Like, what do you know the process of that? Because like it's Clay being on Game. I mean, Sheehan, like they brought, like she comes back, and I like that she
All Stars happened season 8. They had to have at least one person from every season 1 through 7 just to be like, oh yeah, this is the best of the best. And they're not gonna they're not gonna bring back Brian because he's a sociopath. Right. They're probably not gonna bring back Clay because they want to bury Thailand as much as possible. Okay, well, Sheehan was unproblematic and we kind of liked her, so we'll get her back. We're not gonna get Rob with 2 B's back because I don't know where the comment went, but I see someone said that they like Rob, or Rob was entertaining. I just thought that Rob was just a cool guy.
In the same way I was talking before, he's entertaining because he's a piece of shit. Like, it's really funny to
yeah.
yeah. Is there anybody that you'd like to see come back from this?
No,
Like,
well, no, that we saved that. We saved that for the end. Which,
okay.
yeah, we'll save that for the end. Claim Brian over. Okay, no, okay, yeah. Now it's just we're just full on troll mode here. Like it's fine. I would say that I wouldn't have minded seeing Brian come back for Winters at War. But also like I don't think his gameplay would have worked in that season
in the new era, or just in that season
very early. Yeah, the people would have clocked sociopath very early, and like, okay, well, you gotta go. Iceman is what he referred to himself as, the Iceman. Some of these other characters, I actually really enjoyed Officer Ken. I think that his little 1 episode story arc with Rob was very cute. I enjoyed Penny for what she was. Like we didn't get a lot of Penny content until her boot episode. But I do think that Penny had the makings of a good player. Aaron was there.
Parvati was Parvati before?
No, Parvati's season 13.
Yeah,
her first season.
So I was kind of like a precursor to that type of gameplay.
Yeah,
I had to cover myself up. I couldn't.
I think that out of everyone this season outside of Brian, I think the best player. A case can be made for Clay, but I honestly do think that Jake. I think that Jake had the right idea. I think that the fact, even going back to how he formed his tribe, and then going from there, he was always able to be on the right side of a lot of those soup jive votes. And then at the merge, the fake merge and the merge, I think that he knew what to do. It didn't help that none of the Chewy Gun people wanted to jump ship. But I feel bad because I feel like in another season Jake could have flipped something, even if it was the season beforehand. I think that Jake could have flipped something, but because these people were all sipping the Brian Kool-Aid and Clay being a smart player and realizing, hey, my best bet of going to the end is with Brian, and I know that he would take me over Ted because of reasons. I know he would take me over Helen because he thinks that Helen could probably beat him. Jan, poor Jan. Jan is
too sweet. She's too sweet. There's so many, not even just in Survivor. I mean, sometimes I like Hell's Kitchen thing where you see these people and you're just like, oh, why did you?
How'd you get here? Yeah, how did you get here?
Why did Jeff say, like, bring her on?
Who did you beat in casting to get here? And that's not a knock on Jan. It's just like Jan was not. Yeah. Jan was not. I won't say her crying over the baby bat is just the craziest thing to me. But it's such a wholesome moment, and I would say that my favorite moment of this season is the drunk fake merge scene where they're just all drinking wine and Brian gets sick and he throws up, and Helen, I think that's one of the nights that Helen sings and everyone's just having a grand old time. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. This is fun for once. Yeah. Past that, I mean, drunk Ted just dragged on forever on the reward challenge that him and Helen went on. No, I know what he's like. Don't worry. I know. But overall, it's just not good. It's not a good season. No. It's not. And I would say that I had more fun watching it this time, but like, this is to say much.
Well, Jeff even mentions at the end, or in the reunion, I should say, that he was surprised by Brian winning because I think even the producers, I mean, the game has evolved many times over the 46 seasons, and I think this is one of those key points where they were like, you can tell through the whole goddamn season that Jeff is just like,
Jeff's not vibing with these people.
This isn't working, and I think like also in their casting, I think they got too many of the same. They got too many of the same personality types.
Yeah, they got a whole bunch of
Jan sticking out, but everybody else was just like that specific that specific type of person. And
yeah, I would say that, thankfully this is just a bump in the road for the first 10 seasons of the show, because we have, four pretty good seasons at the beginning. We get Thailand, then we get Amazon and Pearl Islands, which were two of my favorites. We get All Stars, which I know I keep trying to say, hey, I'm trying to avoid bringing up All Stars until I get to it, but so far I've done really horrible at doing that. But then we get Vanuatu, the underrated season of all time, the most underrated season of all time, and Palau, which is pretty overrated, but still pretty good. These first 10 seasons, stand alone. And I think that the one that always stands out is like, this is actually bad, is Thailand. And I'm so glad that they were able to recover with Amazon and Pearl Islands. But it's always going to be this black mark on the history of the early part of the show. And, the fact that we've only gotten one person back from this season, with it being Sheehan. And I think it was out of obligation of, hey, we need a Thailand representative for All Stars. We're going to get to who we think could have been brought back. Yes, we get a lot more Jeff Probst Sassmaster this season.
Oh my God. That was the best part for me.
The bye-bye Denver Diva thing where he basically chastises Clay like a child. I love that. Him screaming at everyone during Attack Zone.
You're in
great.
The water. You're not even in the water. Yeah. He you could tell, like we've had, I mean, it's not a disagreement. I think you said, and I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to say this for people in chat, but I think you said that you're not a Jeff Probst fan.
I'm not a Jeff Probst fan. I'm not one of these weirdos that are like, I'm not one of these weirdos that want to get him fired. Like, there's a petition now to get him fired, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I saw an article about that for 46, which I thought was a good. I enjoyed it. Whatever.
I don't have an actual issue with Jeff Probst. I just feel like he buys way too into himself. I feel like he's one of these people who thinks that he's bigger than the show. And that's but this is still fun, Jeff. This is still fun, Jeff. I do feel like this is because the cast is so hateable. I do enjoy Jeff going off on them because, I would go off on Clay too. With a lot of, as you said, Clay is my guy. Clay is a funny narrator most of the time. When he's not funny, it's saying a lot of stuff where I'm just like, I think I hate this man. When he's sitting there saying, I don't feel terrible, I don't feel bad for Gandhi at all, and I hope she leaves. And I knew from day one, before the tribes were picked, that I didn't want her in my tribe because she looked like trouble. And I'm like, you know how that sounds, and you know how that sounds coming from someone with that accent. It wasn't.
Yeah, but I'll say it quietly so the chat can't hear. I don't feel bad for her either.
Oh, stop.
I really don't. You know what? I feel bad that happened, and that shouldn't have happened. And I think in any other case, I don't know why he wasn't taken off the show.
Well, because it's early 2000s, and
yeah, I mean, I know that's what, but still, they made it a spectacle instead of like, hey, don't do that, don't do that. And then they, bringing it back into the reunion, they were like, ooh, views for this, but
yeah. Well, and so during All Stars, they play it as like one of everyone's favorite fight from the first 7 seasons, and that was nominated. It's like, why are we doing this?
Why is it a fond memory for you?
Yeah,
Survivor. It's the look.
Nope.
I feel like I have a relative.
Nope. We're not going down. We're not going down that road. 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 Would you have voted for Clay in that final 2? Because I have an answer, and I want to see if we agree.
And I watched this literally I watched it this morning, actually. I guess it was like 4 a.m. when I watched the final episode.
I would have voted for Clay. I would have voted for Clay if because I care so much about the social aspect of the game and people actually taking the time to get to know folks, because you don't want to be living with folks that, are just playing like sociopaths like Brian was. I would have voted for Clay. And
But
I
Brian played such a good game. So,
huh?
I mean, socially. I mean, not like socially, but in a different sense, right? Not in the.
Yeah,
I mean,
Brian played a
they
social
both played a
game.
very good
Yeah.
social game in two different complete lanes, and I think like my play style would have been closer to Brian's than Clay's. Um, I am also black,
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, just
that's
removing
my
that, I think I would have voted for Clay because I feel like I could have buddied up with him to like him and Ted were buds for most of it. I think that Ted
yeah.
probably votes for Clay until he gets on the jury and hears these whispers about Clay saying certain things about him.
Yeah.
I felt like Clay, I felt like Clay and Ted had a very decent relationship, and I felt like Ted and Helen especially were so burned by Brian that there was a possibility that they could have voted for Clay. Now Clay was very antagonistic to Helen at Final Tribal, and yes, like Helen was definitely coming for him, and Clay
Yeah, I
didn't
was gonna
have to
say,
be
what do you
that
mean?
antagonistic.
I would say I would flip that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, as a juror, like, yeah, but like Clay was like, "Yo, well, I don't feel like I need to do." And it's like, okay,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna change your mind. So why am I
yeah.
gonna try?
Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say I would have voted for Brian, but I do believe that Clay deserved to be in that other seat.
Yeah, and
Like I think the two of them definitely deserve to be there. So
could you imagine a Jan, Jan sitting next to either one of them? I feel like Jan. Honestly, I feel like if Jan
she might have
has
taken
that,
it.
I mean, I don't think she wins, but I think she gets a couple votes. Yeah, none of Clay's original tribe are good. Yeah, that I don't. I think it would have taken a lot for. I think it would have taken a better linguist than Clay to convince anyone from Chewigan to vote for him at the end.
That's true. That's true.
But it's not like Brian was putting on an all timer there, because Brian got caught with his pants down a fair few times during that final.
Yeah, but I feel like he was able to articulate. I mean, yes, but I feel like even in the those little instances of admitting defeat, I still feel like he was able to convey what he wanted to say a lot better than Clay. I think that matters when you're trying to convince people who have actually not made their decision yet to vote for you. No, man, I couldn't vote for Clay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't do it.
All right.
I can't do it,
Well, to the fun part. Yes, Brian only cares about keeping people happy. Yes, and I mean his people especially. Yes, I agree, and I think that's why Chewigan was able to do what the last time that something like this happened was all the way back in season 1. We had 2, 3, and 4 of some type of. It wasn't a straight steamroll of one tribe taking out the other. We hadn't seen this in season 1, and I think it takes a special type of player to get everyone on the same page and say, "Hey, let's." Why wouldn't we do this in this situation? So I absolutely get it, and I mean, like I said, I think that strategic wise, Brian is one of the best to ever do it, and I think that social wise, with the keeping people on the same page, I think he's one of the best to ever do it. But I think because he comes off as a sociopath, I think that's what always, like, people never really look at him as one of the greats, because his personality is just very stoic. It's a business trip, like everyone in the chat said, and like he kept saying while he was out there. So now to the point of the episode where we talk about I mean, Shian's the only person to come back from this season.
Yeah.
Do you think, just being real, do you think that anybody else from this season should have come back?
Helen. Yeah.
Helen. Okay. Why Helen?
Because I feel like she started playing that game really well, just too late, as you said. And I would have loved to have seen her having learned from that mistake and playing a better game like way earlier on. and I think she
Yeah.
would have and could have done some damage. I would have liked to see Helen come back. Jake, I would have liked to see Jake come back.
I don't know, but okay, like I'm not gonna.
Again, these are people I want to see them. I want to see them advance. I want to see them evolve. Their game.
I think Jake would be in his 80s at this point, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
What's the oldest that's ever won? What's the age of the oldest?
I think Bob Crowley's the oldest. I don't know how old he was. How old was Bob when he won? Just answer. But I'm fairly certain it was Bob Crowley that was the oldest. Anyway, I think that Sheehan is the only person that needed to come back. Well, I feel like I don't think anyone needed to come back from this season. I think that Sheehan was the right choice.
Sure.
Which going into the next part of season 50 being all returnees, as I say every episode, I don't think that there's going to be anyone pre-33 that's on season 50. If there was anyone from season pre-33 to be on season 50, who would you say? Keeping in mind that this was filmed 20 years ago, so you'd have to take that into account.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I wouldn't mind Richard coming back.
No, from this season?
No. Oh, do you mean specifically from this season? Coming back in Survivor 50?
Yes. My answer is none.
I don't like Helen that much. I don't know.
Yeah, my answer is none.
No,
absolutely not. I don't think we need any more Thailand. I don't think we need any Thailand representation.
No one would care.
50. No one would care.
I mean,
no.
I
want Ted back. I want Ted back.
You don't want Ted back?
I don't want Ted back, but
come on.
So Amazon, I just had to pause Amazon because it just started. My rating for the season, so no surprise, is 1.5 out of 5. It is my lowest ranked season so far. It'll probably be my lowest ranked season by the time I'm done with all of this.
Was
it
it
take
before?
A lot. It was before, yes. When I did 42 and 42.
I think you said one up when you texted me that, and I was like, I'm in. I'm watching that one. But
in my head, every time I do a rewatch of Thailand, it's the same thing. The inverse with Heroes versus Villains. Whenever I go watch Heroes versus Villains, I'm always like, okay, maybe it's not actually that good. And then I'll watch it. It's like, no, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Thailand is like, okay, let me give it a fair shot. And I did. I gave Thailand I spoke more highly of Thailand tonight than I ever have in my entire life. And I do think there are positives there. But Thailand's a 1.5 out of 5. It will probably end up finishing last on my list. We'll see how Island of the Idols goes on July, whatever. That's my second to last one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna probably stays on the bottom until 39. Yeah, they'll be fighting it out for the bottom spot by the time we get to July. I think it's like July 5th or something like that. Yeah, we've got a ways away. I'm excited to have a long gap between these two seasons. I know there's worlds apart in 30, but like
we can because I'll be joining you for Worlds Apart. You have anybody joining you for Island of the Idols?
I know. I think I have a few folks for that. But final thoughts on the season. I hated, but it was a fun rewatch. I guess it was quick and easy. I'm excited for Survivor Amazon because one of my favorite players is on that season. A couple of my favorite players are on that season. Final thoughts on Thailand.
Again, great, just top tier, 5 out of 5 season. No, it's it is a shit show. It's a shit show for so many reasons. I think it was probably a huge wake-up call for the producers, staffing wise. You like the challenges, I did not for the most part. But I also think they got a chance to see different gameplay, like Jeff says in the reunion, and I think that they started changing things because of that. And and that might be why Amazon is
Amazon.
You like Amazon, right? I think I watched Amazon. I liked it too.
My boy. And we're still 6 seasons away from the first Immunity Idol. You know, we're still very early in the show's history, but I think that this is the last time that a straight up pagonging happens where one tribe just wipes out everyone at the merge. This is the last time that happens because even in All Stars, because Sheehan wins the All Stars. I'm going to keep saying that. Anyway, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you guys for continuing to support this. This is still very early in the process. I'm still on schedule, and because rugby season is over, I will now have more time to commit to this. So I might actually get even more ahead of schedule that I can actually go out and have a life for a couple of days. But tomorrow is Survivor Amazon. We've got Pearl Islands on Saturday, which I'm excited for, only for me to hate myself on Sunday for Survivor All Stars. I'm looking forward to it. We have a lot more guests coming on and a couple surprises as this goes along. But thank you all. Thank you, Mark, for joining me. We'll see you for Worlds Apart, and we will see the rest of you on the other side.
So, guys.